a disaster. It's been a total disaster because there's like this many games that we're allowed to work on. And that's if they've signed an interim agreement, if the gaming company or the game itself has signed an interim agreement saying,
So welcome to the show, Salli Saffioti.
thank you. Thanks for having me.
Likewise. So you've been in the voice acting industry since for a good 20 years, I want to say.
At least, yeah.
What have you learned from being in the voice acting industry over the past 20 years? Because that's quite a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I started out as a theater actor in New York, and then I was lucky enough to get some on camera work. So then I moved into that. I didn't even know what voiceover was, but I did an on camera TV show called The Tracy Ullman Show. Tracy Takes On, it was called. Do you know her? She's British. Tracy Ullman, you'll have to look her up. She's really funny. She does millions of characters, and I was hired to be her double and her stand in. So if two of her characters had a scene together, she would play one and I would play one. So that resulted in me getting to play all different kinds of characters, her characters, and then she let me play different characters on the episodes as a guest. And someone was a fan of the show who was like a producer for voiceovers, and ended up randomly meeting him, and he said, oh, well, who represents your voice? And I was like, oh, I'm not a singer. And he said, no, I mean all the characters. And I said, oh, well, nobody. And that guy changed my life. And that's how I got started. So I didn't know anything about voiceover. I just never thought about it. I mean, of course, it's a part of everyone's life every single day, like it or not. There's voices coming from everything. And so when I started, I felt like I didn't really know what to do with it. And I also didn't do on-camera commercials. That was not my thing. And they were giving me a lot of like commercial copy, and then just trying to sound normal but sell something. And I think at first I was just trying to figure it out those first few years, like how it was different than stage acting, which is different than being in a movie, which is different than being on a TV show, and being able to convey all that with your voice without the visual of any kind. So that was like a learning curve. But then I realized, I call it like an outfit you put on. So there's an outfit, my voiceover outfit, which is very different than my TV outfit, which is different than my theater outfit and my big movie outfit. So what I've learned is that each one has a different outfit. I'll just say that. And by that I mean a different set of skills. But at the core of it is being a seasoned actor, right? A really good actor, and knowing how to interpret the words and the copy, and convey it as authentically as you can without the visual. And I mean, I think I'm pretty good at it. I've had a lot of success with it, with video games and animation, and like I've worked at like a little bit in all the areas, and I love it all, honestly. It's really, really fun. Video games are so fun because I get to play characters I would never, 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 never get to play on camera. So that's always exciting, to get to stretch yourself and be something you never would get to be. It's exhilarating, and it's like also like a really cool release, like to be like the bad guy, like when you're a nice person. So I think that's, I mean, I pulled together like all the different bits of myself and put it into it's creating character like you do for any of those other mediums I spoke about, but knowing how to hone it in for whatever's needed. So
I was going to bring up your video game roles later on, but since you brought it up now, we'll jump right in. You've played Hilda from Fire Emblem, Eramis from Destiny. Who else? A few of Aphrodite skins in Smite.
Thalyssra and World of Warcraft, and did you already say Mistral and Metal Gear? Yeah, about a whole bunch.
My point is, you've been around the block. Which of those roles will really stand out to you? Because you said video games are quite particularly your favorite, but you also liked playing as the villains somewhat compared to playing as the heroes. Because I know a great example of this is Eramis is she was one of the main villains of Destiny for the time being, but then you had on the opposite side more of the heroes, as with Hilda from Fire Emblem. So which one's more fun, the heroes or villains? Because I know you said the villains, but out of all the heroes and villains you played out, which one's been?
Yeah. It's hard to say what's my favorite because I think like in the moment when you're working on whatever role it is, if you've got a director that you really have a good vibe with and um helps you get to those places inside of yourself. Like for me, it's always super exciting to play a villain because it's just so far from who I am as a person and what I do and what I try to bring to the world, but it's really fun to get that release of getting to be like like a larger than life kind of a person. Um, but at the same time, like Hilda is like she is so fun. She was always wish that they would bring her back into that fold because she's like I mean she's kind of like she's a good person, but she's like one of the most manipulative characters I think I've ever played, like ever. You know, but you still like her, so it's like, and you're like, oh, but it's okay, it's Hilda. Like, I'll do it for Hilda, you know. And that was a really fun, fine line to play, and not have her be totally annoying, you know, and entitled and stuff like that, which she could be. Um, but so it's hard to say like what's really fun for me is like why I like the villains is because it's so far from who I am. And I really like when there's an accent involved because I happen to be really good at accents. So if I get to have an accent on top of it, it's like really scratching an itch for me that's like, oh my gosh, like let me embody this thing that I don't even know what it is or how they think, but like when I'm doing an accent, it kind of gives me a little bit of I don't know, leeway or wiggle room to like explore what that might feel like. And I love like sometimes when I'm doing like if it's like a Russian role or something, and then I get to speak in Russian, or I was in Prince of Persia, I played Razia, and I had to speak Farsi in that, and they had an interpreter come at the end, and he said to me, he's like, I love your accent. He's like, you remind me of my father's my father's mother, her mother, my grandmother. And I was just like, oh boy, oh boy. I don't think my accent was that good, but okay. But then like having to like try to get this other language to come out of you, it takes a lot of help from other people, but it's I don't know, it's exciting. It's I feel like I learn something new from every time I get to do all that kind of stuff. So that's why the farther from myself that it is, I think the more like interesting it is, the more exciting it is because when you've been working your whole entire life doing this, to always be learning, it's like really exhilarating. So yeah, I mean, I fall in love with a little bit of each of my characters, even like the worst of the worst. Um, when I played Thalyssra for World of Warcraft, she, she's such a tragic character, and I remember the director and she's one of my favorite directors, Andrea Toyas, and she really like helps like take you there, like, and I mean, we were both crying at one point during one of her speeches because it was just like, oh my God, her whole everything that she's ever known and believed in, and she tried to save them, but she couldn't. And she's just left with all this guilt and the pain of loss and everything like that. And it's like that's great too, like to get to like have your feelings, because we all have grief like of some kind in our life and tragedy. And sometimes when you get to play these characters, like it's also a way to let some of your own stuff out through the character.
Would you say that you've used your characters to express you as a person? I'm just going off what you're saying at the end, where you kind of bring a bit of yourself into if I understood this right.
Yeah. I mean, I do think you bring a little bit of yourself into every character. That's what makes like my version of that character mine, right? So it's because I'm always bringing a piece of myself in there. And if it's like a dark piece, it's like a dark piece that you think about. Like if you watch like a scary movie or like I'm just thinking of like the girl with the dragon tattoo. I watched it recently, and I was like, oh man, now that girl, like that is awesome, right? I can't relate to that, but I could bring a piece of myself that was like, I can imagine what that would be like and what that would feel like to play a role like that, or like The Handmaid's Tale, like, oh, but, and I would bring a piece of myself into that, the fear, the pain, the grief, the whatever. Like, so there's always a piece of you in there, but then you're completely becoming this other character. But the conduit is that piece of yourself you bring with you into the role.
So what pieces of yourself have you put into each of your characters then? Because you obviously can't do the same thing for every single one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it just kind of happens at this point. I don't have to think about it anymore. Maybe when I first started in acting, I really first started when I was in high school, I think. But when I was in college, I was taking some pretty intensive acting classes in New York City. That's where I'm from. And I remember then it was like one of the acting classes was really like a therapy. I mean, full blown, the darkest, deepest therapy, maybe even crossing a line into, Sally, tell me about within yourself, what you feel. And I'm just thinking like, I'm in front of like a group of like 40 people here, and you want me to talk about my mom trauma? Like, and then you're like, oh, well, whatever. Yeah, it's like no big deal. And then she's like, no, go to the next layer. And then it's like all of a sudden you're there and you're just like a mess. And she's like, start the scene. So it like that's probably where that started, like and that's like kind of, I don't know if they still do that in acting classes. That's kind of like old school acting, but now I don't even think about it. It's just like when I read a spec for a role, it's like almost like I'm like, okay, that's file 344, and it's like whatever piece of that is in myself, a piece that from nightmares or a piece from my happiest moment of childhood, or like Hilda reminds me of that a little bit. She's just like, she's like that little girl that, I still wish I was sometimes, like having that enthusiasm, that excitement, that sweetness, that innocence, but yet totally knowing what she's doing, So it's like, I don't even think about it anymore. It just kind of happens. And I don't know which piece of me is going to come, but I can feel inside myself when I'm working on a part, when it's not working, right? When it's like, I can feel it. Even if they're like, okay, great, on to the next line. I'm thinking like, this is not right. And it's because like, I feel like I haven't quite wrapped my head and my emotions and everything around what they want. Either I don't understand what they want, or it keeps changing. So I'm trying to give them what they want. And so I haven't settled into that place inside myself where it just naturally happens. Do you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Would you say it's more like, I don't want to say Russian roulette, but would you say it's more like, have you ever played Dungeons and Dragons?
I have not, but I really want to.
Yeah, so it kind of reminds me a bit of like when you roll a d20. For those who don't know, it's basically 20-sided dice, and whatever number comes up is the outcome of what that roll is. It sounds kind of similar, where you roll the dice, whatever number lands on, that's a piece of you that gets portrayed and put into the character that you're voicing at the time.
Maybe, except I think that it's more it comes from a place of this aspect of me that either I know or I want to explore more of, or whatever. It just comes up because that's what would suit that character. Do you know? It's not like I'm like, I rolled I don't know, Dungeons and Dragons, a 7, and that's not going to work for that character. You know what I mean? Like it's more now at this point. Like it's like I've done thousands and thousands of, whether it's plays, copy. I mean, I read hundreds of pieces of copy every week, and this is for decades now. So you develop that internal muscle inside of yourself that just pulls it up without even, it's like, that one, got it. That one, got it. And sometimes if I look at something and I'm like, I don't know, then I'm like, well, maybe that part's not right for me, because like if I can't really sort it out, or I can't make a bold choice for my audition that I think is correct for the character, it's hard to feel like oh, that's my part. You know what I mean?
No, that makes sense. How much? Because I know you used to do theatre when you first started. Those. How much has that influenced your voice acting, or is that has?
Well, I think tons. I mean, like, I think that is where I became a really, really, really good actor on stage because there's no faking it up there, right? There's no you're just right there, all raw and vulnerable. Whatever's happening in that live moment, like you're gonna deal with it. So I think that gives you, like, if you were going to the gym, that would be like, I don't know, whatever the hardest machine is at a gym. Like, it would be like the leg press or the whatever, like the squats with the most weight on your shoulders. It that's the real heavy lifting, is being live on stage when things inevitably go wrong, or someone feeds you the wrong line, or you forget a line, or you say a line comes out of your mouth doesn't happen till the end of the play, and everyone's looking at you like, and you're like, uh, yeah, let me try to save that one, you know? So it's like, it's really good. It gives you that, the muscle is the best way to say it. It's really like a muscle that you learn to pull from within yourself and find the right thing that will fit the character.
How do you find that right fit for your characters?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It happens kind of naturally now. I don't have to really think about it that much anymore. In the beginning, like I said, from that acting class, it was like the teacher would kind of guide you there. Like if you weren't getting as deep as she wanted or whatever, or as funny, she'd help you like loosen up if you were too uptight, or you know what I mean? It was like, so I think that's where the muscle gets developed, and you keep honing it with every audition that you do and every job that you do and all the different direction, because the directors are like the acting teacher or whatever. They're guiding your performance in the right direction, and then you're bringing parts of yourself along with it, but really creating a character that is based on something that someone else has created, but your spin on it is when you bring that little piece of yourself into it, whatever's needed.
I also think with you is because you've done it so much that the natural parts become a second nature for you.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah, it's like a natural evolution. I've noticed that you've gone into coaching for voice acting, well, for voice actors, and I've noticed this kind of trend with people who've been in the voice acting industry for a long time, where they'll get into voice acting, they'll do a few roles, and then go and teach other people how to be voice actors. Would you say that's a natural progression for voice actors, or is that just something a select few do? Because I've met a few voice actors who will do that, and I've also met a few voice actors who haven't done that, but they're still in the process of doing all the major roles at the moment.
Right. Well, I mean, I do both, right? I mean, I mostly do voiceover work. Every week I have jobs every week, right? And I audition every single day. For me, how the coaching thing started is because I have a son and he's now 16. And my agent, when he was 4, said, "Oh, would you let your son audition for the," and I was like, no, we're not going to do the Hollywood kid thing. She's like, "It's one word. Just have him say it in the microphone. And if he books it, it's like $1,000, towards his, college fund." And I'm like, "What's the word?" It's a made up word. It's the name of a movie. It's called Box Trolls. And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Just box trolls. They want a real little boy to go, box trolls, the box trolls." And I was like, okay, well, I'll see if he wants to do it. And so I picked him up from preschool when he was 4.5. And I said, "Hey, Max, my friends want to know if you would say a word into my microphone." And he did. It's a very long story. I'll cut it short. He ended up booking like the lead as a baby. And so he was in the Box Trolls and got to hang out with Ben Kingsley and, all these people. It was like pretty exciting. And then he was like, "I don't want to do it anymore." And I said, "Okay, you never have to do it again." And then my agent kept sending, they didn't represent kids, but they represent clients' kids if they want to be represented. And so she kept sending stuff. And I was like, "Yeah, he's not into it." And then one day he was like, "Mama," he's like, "why don't I get to do the blah blahs anymore?" Because he would sit outside my booth and he'd be like, "Are you doing the blah blahs?" Because he would hear like blah blah outside the door, like blah 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 blah, blah. And because I'm a single mom, so it's like he was always with me or right there. Like, so he'd have his little Thomas the Train, so like right outside the door or whatever his thing was at the time, Lego, anything. And so when he wanted to do it again, I naturally just started coaching him on his auditions, and he ended up having this tremendous voiceover career. Like several years, my son made more money than I made, and he was working all the time. He was like a total natural, and they liked him because he didn't sound like an actor kid. Because a lot of actor kids tend to have the same sound because they go to like kid acting school and kid voiceover, and they tend to like really push everything like and my son was just more like, um, you know, yeah, I want that piece of candy. And whereas like maybe a kid actor kid would be like, I want that piece of candy, like they'd be like over the top, right? So I think he sort of stood out because he was just really real, because that's how I coached him to be. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I never tried to give a kid a career. And he was super successful. And then everyone was like, how did you make that happen for your son? How did you do that? And I said, well, he's just naturally good, but he's been by my side at just about every job, everything. He was like right with me. So many recording studios in LA have a picture of me with my baby on my hip and me at a microphone. He just knew to be dead quiet. And, until he was a little older, and then he would sit down with his little Lego magazine, like looking through the magazine. But he was always with me, so he was always around it. And so then everyone's like, well, I want that to happen for my kid. Could you coach my kid? And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I could try. Like, I don't know. So I coached some people's kids, and it was really easy and it was really fun. A lot of people don't like to coach kids. I love it because I mean, I love children. I was a nanny for so many years at the start of my acting career. I mean, for I don't know, 15 years at least. I've always loved kids. So for me, it was, I feel like I can speak to kids and I understand. Not mine right now because he's 16, whatever, no big deal. But so that's how the coaching thing started. It was like when someone would ask, and then a parent would refer me to someone else, and then an agent would ask someone, "Oh my God, where do I send this kid to?" And so it's like I don't do that much of it, but then Skills Hub. I don't know if you know Skills Hub. It's like it's an online.
That was the one. I forgot the name, but yeah, I did
Yeah.
look at it earlier.
And it's pretty awesome. It's like an online resource for anyone that wants to know anything about voiceovers. They've got workout rooms and copy online, and or you can book a coach, right? So then they reached out to me and said, "Hey, we'd love you to be a coach." So I kind of signed up for it, but I didn't put that many times because like I just never know what's happening because I manage my son's life and take him everywhere and everything, and my own and work and everything, and our place where we live. So, but I did some, and people were really happy, overall. I don't think I ever got a bad thing, but, it's so funny, this little boy that I had coached early in his career, I haven't heard from them in 3 years. She just reached out saying, "Hey, my son's auditioning for the lead in this show, and help us, like, you're the one." And usually it's like people try lots of people just because you got to find your right flavor. Like, do you want someone that's really hard and like, no, say this line this way? And my approach is my approach, whatever it is. So for me, it's great. Work is really slow this year because we're still on strike for video games. It's been almost 10 months now. And so someone reached out. I hadn't done a Skills Hub session in years. And this kid reached out and requested me because he's a Fire Emblem fan. And so I was like, yeah, why not? Now I have time because I'm not that busy. So I coach that guy every week now, and it's a really nice feeling. And eventually I'll promote it a little bit more. I like it as a side thing because I find it really rewarding because I could certainly help someone have a much better audition or learn some skills, basic, or if they're already advanced, like learning how to really tweak that audition to make it stand out. And I like it. It feels good. It feels good to help too.
There's a few points I'll pick apart as we go along, but with the strike, because I remember speaking to, I'm gonna pick someone different now. I spoke to Ariana Ratner. I don't know whether you know who she is.
I know her name, but I don't know her.
Yeah, I had her on the show. She brought up about the SAG-AFTRA strikes. I'm surprised they're still going on, to be honest, but it makes sense because you got AI and taking all the low-level jobs. How much has that truly affected the gaming industry as a whole?
Oh, it's a disaster. It's been a total disaster because there's like this many games that we're allowed to work on. And that's if they've signed an interim agreement, if the gaming company or the game itself has signed an interim agreement saying they will honor the things that we're asking for. So that's what if the gaming companies as a whole would just sign the agreement, then we'd be back at it, right? But what's happening is that now these companies can say, well, for this game we'll agree to it, and for this game we'll agree to it. So there you have to, like, when the auditions come through, you have to make sure it's like on the up and up, and are they giving AI protections, and are they like willing to meet like the terms. And so certain games within the companies are, but a lot of them are still not. So until everyone can get on board, they can't rewrite the whole contract. You know what I mean? So now there's like these little side contracts that happen, but it decimated the work field for all of us, and certainly for like the poor people at the gaming companies. You know, people have gotten laid off left, right, and backwards, and it's so sad. And then I think then AI kind of swoops in there, and I know there's a lot of good things about AI, but I think a lot of people in many industries end up losing their job, and then it's like you got to reinvent it. What happens now, and what's the new norm, you know, when you add that new element in. So it's been challenging, definitely. I mean, I feel lucky that I also do commercial voiceover and promos and animation, and you know, I work for Jimmy Kimmel a lot, so I feel lucky that there's that I've had a pretty diverse career, you know.
I would also say it affects anyone who's looking to get into the voice acting industry, because if you've got
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, let's say, because I know it's quite common for YouTubers to take up some voice acting roles. I know Jacksepticeye did a Sonic Boom role. Oh, was it Sonic Prime? I forget which one, but it was in a couple of years ago. And the game came up, and I decided, you know what, I've been doing this podcast for 3 years, let's just say, and I'll just throw my hat in the ring. But then the company comes in and says, yeah, that's all good and dandy, Cayde, but we've got AI, we kind of don't need you. It kind of threatens any like genuine responsive people to come in, because if it's all going to be robotic, then I worry personally that it's going to be the death of entertainment if people start doing that.
Well, yes, I agree with you, and my hope is that there'll be a segment of it that is that kind of content, and that there will be almost like a renaissance, where there'll be the whole other segment that is just really wanting the pure art form, which is real people, real writers, real actors, you know, real sets, real, you know, not everything being virtual. And not to knock that, because there's definitely a place for that, but I don't believe that can really replace true art of any kind. I don't. I mean, maybe I'm just old, but that's what I feel.
No, I agree with you there. I think you lose the human element. And I
Right.
think in some particular roles, they've all just slipped my mind, but I know there have been a few film roles in the past where they've only worked because the actor has put some emphasis into it or can relate to the character. I know with Ruby, I forget her name, but I know the voice actor for Blake Belladonna. I know the character goes through abusive relationship. The way the voice actor was able to kind of enforce that and bring it across in the characters, because she herself went through that. And with AI, it can read what's like the typical stereotypical thing for abuse victim, just to say on the same topic, but it's not going to understand or where or bring across the experience, or just go, right, let's mimic it, instead of going, no, I went through it, so I know how to portray it.
Well, right. And in that moment, in that very second that is being filmed, what that person, based on all of her own life experiences and the character she's created, but bringing her own, like we were talking about before, stuff into it. I mean, I don't think that can be replicated. Sure, you can get a fine, mimic performance from some AI, but no way are you going to get those nuances, the hesitations, the catch in the throat, or whatever it is. Like that just happens. Like that you can't plan it. It just happens, and it's so palpable, I think, is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, to use my own personal experience, as I grew up in care, and let's say they wanted someone who been through care, I'd be a better candidate than someone who were than an AI. I don't mind sharing that, but yeah, it's kind of a tough one for just the entertainment industry in general. It's not just voice acting. I think I kind of face the same problem. I think I've got it a bit. I got a bit of an advantage in the sense that it's a podcast with real people, and but then who's to say in the next 5 years podcasts go out the window because AI has just become so proficient people can't tell.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen because, again, like a real conversation that's happening in the moment, someone could just sure mimic it, but it's not truthful. It's not 100% authentic, right? It's based on an idea about something, an idea about a response, rather than someone who's like lived the life to give that response in that moment, human to human.
I have a feeling AI is going to be a great assistant, but it's not going to be a replacer like everyone says.
Sure, and maybe the pendulum is going to swing really far, that way, and then hopefully it settles somewhere in the middle, where we can reap the benefits, but keep the art.
I want to talk about Eramis for a minute. Now, the reason I want to bring up this character is because you've voiced her for many years, but there was a period where Eramis was out the picture. So just to give some spoilers for Destiny for those who will or who may play it, basically she popped up in Beyond Light, basically got frozen and wasn't appeared until a year and a half later, and then she kept cropping up like every other expansion. Since you were the voice actor for Eramis during that entire time, what were the logistical challenges behind that? Because like I said, with Eramis out of the picture, Bungie didn't need you, but when she came back, they needed you, but it wasn't for every single season or every single expansion. So how did that work? Did they keep having to ring you up going, Sally, we need again, Eramis is back?
That's how it goes. And you hope you have enough work in between, to keep you going, right? It's like, I didn't even know she was going to come back. I mean, honestly, when she was frozen, I was like, wow, okay. Well, she was a cool villain. Peace out. I'm dead again, like kind of a thing. So I was so excited when they brought her back. I hope they bring her back again,
Yeah, I did have a look earlier just to see how that story ended. Hopefully.
You never know, man. You never know.
Which character have you played or voiced where it's been truly a logistical nightmare for any reason?
None of them. We always figure it out, I've never been so busy that I couldn't get in a session for whoever, like if somebody really wants you, they'll wait a little bit, or they'll work around your schedule, or we work late at night sometimes, or super early in the morning if needed. So I really haven't had anything that was like, I mean, the hardest part, logistical speaking, was when my son was little, and it was really hard to navigate having a young child and work, and I never had a nanny, and I don't have any family. So it was like I was by myself with this baby, and just like, oh, okay, what do I do now? Can I bring him? Are they cool if I bring him? Okay, great. Oh my gosh, how long of a session? Oh, I don't think he can sit there that long. Like, so can I see if my neighbor can hang out with him, or, can he go on a little play date? Or, so that was like logistical. That was hard for me, but it's never been hard with any squeezing in sessions, and I've never been that busy, I guess, where that would be a problem.
You mentioned earlier about that you've constantly got work and you're sending auditions every single day. What does your typical day in the life of as a voice actor look like then, if you're constantly doing work and sending in auditions? Because juggling those places must be fun.
Yeah. I mean, well, I guess you don't actually get the paid jobs every day, but there's certainly like several hours of auditions every day. So, like I wake up in the morning, I cook my son breakfast, I take my son to school, I try to work out, and then I open up my emails and I see like what's come in, and sometimes within one email for a game, let's say, there might be 14 characters, and I'm like, okay, and I could probably do all of them, because I'm pretty versatile. So I'm like, all right, well, 14 characters. Well, that's probably gonna take me like 2 hours maybe if I do them all. 3 hours maybe if like they're tricky, because some of them are like, oh, and we want you to watch this video and like and listen to a voice print that we like and listen to the music that the character would listen to, to try to like give you as much information as possible. But then it becomes time consuming, right? So I do as many as I can, and then I take breaks like in my home studio, so I can go upstairs and have a snack or make a cup of tea or whatever. And then I just try to plow through as much as I can during the day, because the emails come in all day long. And, some of it's like responding, signing a contract, or, hey, are you interested in this thing? Can I have more information? Like, there's a lot of like emailing work. And then, running errands, like shopping and cooking and like cleaning and stuff like that, getting my son from school, taking him to whatever, an activity or a doctor's appointment, coming home and cooking dinner. And then there's still a bunch of auditions because they come in until 6 o'clock. And then after dinner, I do my auditions until, until they're done, basically. And I like if there's a little wiggle room, like, oh, it's not due by tomorrow morning at 9, I might wait till the next morning and do it in the morning. That's what I did this morning because I was like kind of fighting a cold. So this morning I finished up some of the stuff that I didn't do last night. And that's basically, how it is. On Fridays, I really wish that I could finish all the auditions that are due on Monday by the end of Friday so I can really enjoy my weekend, because all I do is think about it all weekend. Like, oh, I should do this. I should do that. I should, so I try to get it all done by the end of day Friday. So sometimes I stay up late on Fridays to finish it,
Yeah, I suppose it's I get that. So it doesn't play in the back of your mind.
Yeah. And then also like, then if I've got this pretty like tight schedule of just getting the auditions and all the other stuff done, then when you get jobs in there, like paying jobs, that takes away the audition time, right? So that might take 2 hours or 4 hours or 6 hours or however many hours if you have to go to a studio or if you're doing it from home. And then it kind of got adjust in your brain, like, okay, so that means tonight I'm probably going to be staying up super late because you've lost that time in there to be able to do the auditions. And then every once in a while, there's a day when there's like maybe 5 auditions and not 25 auditions, And those days are like, you're like, piece of cake, I got it,
One thing I noticed when I was researching you was that for some of your roles, you went by the alias, I can't say the first name, Celeste? Yes,
Celeste Henderson. Yeah. Because that was when I was doing some non-union work. And my name is Salli Saffioti, and that's like how I joined the union. But I did do some non-union work in there, and so I was using my middle name and my son's middle name. That's it. It's my middle name. My name is Salli Celeste Saffioti. His name is Maxwell Henderson Mitchell. So
why wouldn't you use your actual name for the non-union stuff?
Well, because I wasn't supposed to be doing the non-union stuff.
Okay, so there's a way around it.
Well, sort of, yeah. It was more just like I was like, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm going through a divorce. I don't have any money, so it was like, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, it's like, but yeah, I'll honor the contract, by the way.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
What would your dream role be if you just got to
just do it, if it just came along out of thing there?
Voiceover or on camera?
A voiceover.
Well, I would really like to be on a Star Wars show. and play like one of those like powerful women that are like, discovering new galaxies and saving their own, their people and things like that. That went on and on and on and on and on, like, and then she's a mother, and then, she's a grandmother, and like, like I would just like I'd like to have this huge Star Wars arc. Same thing with like, I would like that with like a DC or a Marvel show, like something like that. Like one of those like just iconic that you're like, oh, like Salli Saffioti's the voice of whoever that person would be, like badass number 53 or whatever.
For some reason, Harrison Dula came into my mind the moment you said, "Oh, I want some what badass woman saving the galaxy who's a mother." Oh wait, Harrison Dula comes to mind. She's got a kid as well, son.
Yeah.
What can we expect to see from you next? For you upcoming projects?
Well, I play a really cool villain in an animated series that will be out. It's already out. Season 1, I'm in season 2. I can't say, but she's really fun to play. So I'm super excited about that. And I've been, again, I can't say either. I've been working on this video game. I thought it was already coming out, but it's not out yet. And I've done a lot of work on that. And I'm French in that one, and that's really fun too. Because like I told you, I love doing a good accent. And I've done probably 20 sessions for that video game. So that's a lot of Salli Saffioti.
Salli Saffioti. You just said
Salli Saffioti.
Salli Saffioti. Everyone,
OT.
where can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
I am on Instagram mostly. So it's my name, Salli Saffioti Actress. So it's with an I, Salli Saffioti Actress.
What's up, people? If you enjoyed that episode of Salli Saffioti and you want to hear from another voice actor, then have Drago from Bakugan's Jason DeLine right here. I'll see you there.